When I mentioned my son's wife, Leah, Kenny fell silent. Then he let out a big sigh this time.
Leah wouldn't have answered the phone. She didn't even go to your house, did she?
No, but she still sends me $10 a month. I buy donuts for my helper with the money. He laughed out loud when I said that.
Hey, Mom, you've got to be kidding me.
I wondered why Kenny was laughing. What do you mean I'm kidding?
Because it's a different amount, and I've told Leah to transfer $100 every month.
$100? Wait a minute. I couldn't believe what Kenny was saying and rushed to get my bank book. I checked the amount, and sure enough, it was $10 a month. I knew it was $10 a month. I knew it was that much. Kenny was clearly upset on the other end of the phone. He was mumbling something to himself.
I'm sorry, I need to think about it for a while. Can you send me a picture of that bank book? I want to be sure.
Okay. I'll send it to you right away.
I'll talk to you later.
With that, he hung up the phone. I didn't know what the heck was going on, and it was somewhat of an aftertaste. I took a picture of the bank book and sent it to Kenny. A short time later, I received a phone call from Kenny. He said,
I'm sorry, Mom. I'll hand over the money next month. I already told Leah about it.
I'm glad you're coming home, but what's this all about?
I'd like to explain, but I can't right now. Nothing to worry about.
After saying this, Kenny hung up the phone. My name is Arisha. I am standing in front of a portrait of my husband with a smile on his face. I see my husband with a smile on his face in front of me. I wonder how many decades have passed since his death. I have grown old, but he is still smiling in the picture, forever young. My son Kenny is standing next to me, looking at the photo as I am looking at it. I have raised Kenny all these years with my own hands. Life was never easy, and my workload must have made him lonely. Even so, Kenny volunteered to help with the housework, making lunches for himself and me, cleaning the house, and doing the laundry. This allowed me to concentrate on my own work. Kenny, congratulations on your college graduation.
Thank you for raising me all these years, Mom. I'm going to work hard to make up for you.
Yeah, right. Today is Kenny's graduation from college. It seems like a long time, but it has been 22 years in the blink of an eye. I felt as if a weight had been lifted off my shoulders when Kenny successfully entered the workforce. It's all well and good to work hard, but take care of yourself. Since Kenny started going to work, I had become conversely bored. The company had already retired me, and since I was a workaholic, I had no friends. Staying at home was bad for my health, and above all, I was worried about money for my retirement, so I started working part-time. Thus, Kenny and I began to live a new life together. One day, after several years of such a life.
Mom, you don't have anything planned for next Sunday, do you?
Not particularly, but is there something you want to ask me to do? Kenny scratched his head, his face a little red.
Actually, there is someone I'd like you to meet. I'm sorry to ask on such short notice, but please.
I was a little blown away by Kenny's reaction. That's good. You found a nice girl. I'm looking forward to it.
I didn't say anything about it.
You don't have to say anything. For the next few days, I was feeling so excited that I was surprised at myself. But I was also a little sad to think that Kenny was leaving me. With mixed feelings, the appointed day arrived. Kenny brought his girlfriend home on time.
Let me introduce you. This is my girlfriend Leah.
Nice to meet you. I am dating Kenny. My name is Leah.
Leah looked like a modern young lady. She was wearing a hairstyle and makeup that imitated idols and was wearing trendy, cute clothes. My first impression was that she was a bit flamboyant and light. However, Kenny is rather quiet, so I thought he and Leah, who is energetic and cheerful, might be a good match. In fact, she did not seem intimidated by me. She was passionately talking about her favorite idols, showing me the screen of her phone. Once we were all completely comfortable, Kenny said to me,
I'm going to marry Leah.
I was not at all opposed to the idea. Kenny and Leah got married and set up a new house 15 minutes from our house. I thought I was supposed to live alone, but suddenly Leah came to my house and politely asked me,
Please teach me how to cook.
But I am not that good at it either.
But you are still better than me. I don't know what to do at all, and Kenny is busy too, so I want to be able to do it myself somehow.
Leah's big eyes were moist and she begged me to help her, clasping my hands. To tell the truth, I was busy with my part-time job, but I couldn't neglect my son's wife if she depended on me that much. Okay, I'll teach you everything I can.
Thank you.
Leah's eyes lit up and she was delighted. Then I started teaching her how to cook at her house. I taught her how to choose groceries at the supermarket, how to get the best deals, and how to plan a menu. I carefully taught her everything from household budget matters to how to actually cook. I also studied cookbooks in advance to make sure I didn't teach the wrong things. I smiled as I remembered standing in the kitchen with Kenny when he was little. I felt like I had a daughter, and I was happy and lively every day. But those days did not last long. At first, I think Leah tried very hard to remember what I was teaching her. She always took notes of what I said and recorded the complicated cooking procedures on her phone. After a month, however, Leah got tired of it and just stood there and watched without taking notes. Even when I tried to explain in detail, she just kept repeating a curt reply. On the contrary, even when I was cooking, she would look at her phone and say that her favorite idol was streaming on the internet. Normally, I would have warned her against such an attitude. However, I was too busy with my part-time job and too tired to pay attention to her because I was learning how to cook, which I usually don't do. After all, I had to take care of my own house and cook meals for Kenny and Leah. But I did not complain and continued to cook. I thought this was retribution for all the work I had done and all I had done for Kenny. But sadly, I was older than I thought. As I spent my busy days, my body gradually became less and less able to do what I wanted it to do. One day, when I was still diligently going to work part-time, I was suddenly struck by a severe dizziness. My colleagues called out to me, but I collapsed on the spot, unable to even reply. Everyone was in a panic that they had to call an ambulance for me. I felt it in the distance, and gradually my eyes went completely dark. I wonder how many days have passed since then. When I woke up, the first thing I saw was an unfamiliar ceiling. My mind was in a daze. My body was lying on the bed, tubes were stretched all over my body. What in the world had happened to my body? I looked over to see Kenny sitting in a chair beside me, breathing softly in his sleep. I was a little relieved to see Kenny. As I was about to call out to my son, I was shocked. I tried to ask him what had happened to me, but my tongue was numb. I couldn't speak.
What is this all about?
I suddenly became anxious and tried to sit up, but the left half of my body was numb and wouldn't move. I didn't know what had happened to my body, and my anxiety quickly turned to fear and panic.
Kenny, help me!
Kenny finally woke up as I struggled desperately with my immobile body and my tongue that wouldn't turn.
Thank God you're awake. You're awake. I'm going to call a doctor now. Please wait for me.
After saying this, Kenny went to call a doctor. Meanwhile, I could only stare at the ceiling in amazement. Just thinking about what would happen to me in the future was enough to make me feel overwhelmed with anxiety. Soon Kenny brought a doctor. The elderly doctor looked very kind, which made him feel a little better.
I'm relieved to see you've regained consciousness.
I tried to raise my body again, but before I could do so, the doctor restrained me with his hand.
Please don't strain yourself. I want you to calm down and listen to me, but the results of the examination show that you have had a stroke.
A stroke? What is a stroke?
I did not understand immediately, and despair gradually overtook me.
But it was fortunate that you collapsed at your workplace. We gave you first aid right away, so it didn't turn out to be serious.
But, my body!
I struggled to move my numb tongue and squeeze out my voice. Kenny was shedding tears behind the doctor's back when he heard my altered voice. But the doctor kept his gentle face even after hearing my words.
Please don't worry. It may be difficult now, but it will get better with rehabilitation.
I see.
Kenny was so impatient that he squeezed my hand.
Mom, rehabilitation may be hard for you, but I will help you.
His desperate plea brought tears to my eyes. But then a question came to my mind. Leah, where is Leah? Kenny looked away.
Leah went to the concert of her idol, but please forgive her.
I don't blame her, but I guess he felt guilty. Then my rehabilitation began. At first, I started by bending my limbs, which I could not move as I wanted, with the help of an occupational therapist. Kenny also came to the hospital on his days off to help me with my rehabilitation. Leah would come to visit me, but she always just watched what Kenny was doing. The rehabilitation was really hard and the days went on and on with no end in sight. But with everyone's help, I was able to speak more clearly than at first. Finally, 6 months later, I was discharged from the hospital. I still had to live in a wheelchair, but it was better. On the day of discharge, both Kenny and Leah came to the hospital. However, I somehow noticed Kenny's expression was hard. After that, I greeted the doctors and occupational therapists who had taken care of me, and when I returned home for the first time in a while, I found that my room had been cleaned up very nicely. Not only that, but there were handrails and a ramp that had not been there before. Did you build these?
Yes, I did. I wanted to make your life as comfortable as possible.
Kenny scratched his head for a while, then opened his mouth as if he had made up his mind.
So, you are going to be inconvenienced for the time being, and I think it will be hard for you, and I'm going to move in with you.
If you're going to live with me, what are you going to do with the house you have now?
We're moving out of the house.
I didn't know how to respond to this sudden talk. Certainly, I was in such a state and would have appreciated having someone by my side. But could I ruin the lives of my young son and his wife because of me? There were other things that worried me as well. I glanced over at Leah. She was fiddling with her phone without listening to us. She was probably browsing through that idol. Besides, I was stuck with the fact that she wanted to learn to cook from me, but did nothing and ended up forcing me to do the housework. I had no intention of blaming Leah for that at all. I just wondered if I could trust her.
Okay? I'll do anything for you.
Thank you. I'm glad. But while I was wondering what to do, Leah looked up.
Hey Kenny, your mother was finally discharged from the hospital today. She'll feel confused if you suddenly tell her something like that.
Kenny flinched a little, as if he was surprised to hear Leah say that.
That's true, but it would be better to make a decision on something like this as soon as possible.
It's an important matter, so we should discuss it at length. You can't just go ahead with the discussion without your mother.
Leah seemed to be a lot more clever than I thought she was. Still, Kenny did not want to change his opinion.
Look, you know what? My father is gone. I can't even rely on my relatives. Who can take care of Mom?
I couldn't go into their heated argument. I wanted them to be there for me, but I didn't want to bother them. I was troubled inside by these contradictory feelings.
You say you will take care of her, but soon you will have an overseas business trip, right? Do I have to take care of her during that time?
That's why I made sure to ask you about that.
But I can't do it. So it's best to leave it to a specialist.
My son and I listened to Leah's words for a while.
I don't want to leave your mother alone either. But I don't have any experience in taking care of her, so it's difficult. Then let's hire a helper. And we will pay for it.
Leah's unexpected proposal surprised me. I thought that hiring a helper would surely help me to get rid of my blurred feeling. Kenny would be able to concentrate on his work with peace of mind. It would cost a little more money, but it certainly seemed like the best idea. Kenny also crossed his arms and thought about it. Leah put her hands on her hips and looked at us proudly.
I see. A helper. Surely we can leave it to someone like that. What do you think, Mom?
I agree. I don't want to ruin your life. In the end, Leah's idea was adopted. I was honestly surprised that Leah suggested the idea of a helper. I had thought that she did not care about me. I was ashamed of myself for thinking that I could not trust her until just a few minutes ago. Kenny and Leah then discussed further and decided which helper they would hire. They agreed that Kenny would provide the amount of money. However, Kenny had to work, so Leah was responsible for managing the money.
Well, Mom, I'll be responsible for depositing the money.
Leah smiled with a twisted mouth. Kenny then left for a long business trip abroad as we had talked about. As promised, Leah deposited the helper's fee into my account. However, it was a small amount of $10. However, I could not even earn that amount of money now, no matter how small it was. Besides, I had saved money from my job and part-time job, plus I had insurance, so there was no problem. I was glad that they cared about me, even if it was a small amount, and I used the money to pay for donuts to thank the helper. And the helper who came to my house was a very nice person. She always took care of me and was always willing to help me with my rehabilitation. Leah never came to my house, but I never felt lonely because my helper took care of me. And since the helper was close to my age, we hit it off as if we had known each other for a long time. When she learned that my son's wife was not coming to my house, she began to visit me outside of work. However, no matter how well we got along, the helper did not go deep into my private life. I grew to trust her more and more because of her attitude of not mixing personal and business affairs. When I became disabled, I felt uneasy, but I got used to it. On the contrary, my days were more enjoyable than before, thanks to my helper. These happy days passed quickly, and one morning, 6 months after leaving the hospital, I was eating breakfast when Kenny called me. I was eating breakfast when I received a phone call from Kenny.
This is Kenny. Has anything changed since then? Is everything safe and sound in your life?
Kenny's voice sounded a little tired. Thanks to you, I'm enjoying my life. My helper is very nice.
I see. I'm glad to hear that. I'd been worried about that for a long time.
Kenny exhaled loudly over the phone, as if he was relieved to hear my voice. How are you doing, too? It sounds like you're having a hard time at work.
It's tough. I was confident in my English, but I guess it's a different level when you're talking to people in real life.
I guess you just have to get used to it. Maybe it's better to be a little brazen. We talked happily for a while after that, mostly complaining about Kenny's work. Then a question occurred to me. Hey, I'm glad you're talking to me, but have you called Leah yet? Kenny fell silent when I mentioned Leah. Then he let out a big sigh this time.
Leah wouldn't have picked up the phone. She's probably at an idol show or something. She didn't go to her mother's house either, did she?
Well, yeah, but she's still sending $10 a month. I use it to buy donuts for my helper. Kenny laughed out loud when I said that.
Hey, Mom, you've got to be kidding.
But I didn't understand why Kenny was laughing. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's a different amount, and I've told Leah to transfer $100 a month.
$100? Wait a minute. I could not believe what Kenny was saying, so I rushed to get my bank book. I checked the amount, and sure enough, it was $10 a month. I knew it was $10 a month. I knew it was that much. Kenny was clearly upset on the other end of the phone. He was mumbling to himself.
I'm sorry, I'll call you later. I'm going to think about it and I'll get back to you. Can you send me a picture of the bank book? I want to be sure.
All right, I'll send it to you right away.
I'll see you next time.
Kenny hung up the phone. I didn't know what the heck was going on, so it was somewhat of an aftertaste. I took a picture of the bank book anyway and sent it to Kenny. A short time later, I received a phone call from him.
I'm sorry, Mom. I'll hand over the money to you when I come back next month, and I've already told Leah about it.
I'm glad you're coming home, but what's this all about?
I'd like to explain, but I can't right now. Please wait for now. Nothing to worry about.
After saying this, Kenny hung up the phone. A month passed with blurred feelings. Then I received an unexpected phone call from Leah. I answered the phone excitedly, thinking that she was going to surprise me with Kenny's return. However, contrary to my feelings, Leah was crying a lot.
Mom! I'm in trouble! Hey, what's wrong? Calm down! Please, stop Kenny! What do you mean?
I tried my best to soothe Leah, but her tears did not stop, but only intensified. In addition, I had no idea what she was talking about, and it was as if we were having a conversation.
Why should I stop Kenny? He gets angry with me. I can't give you the details, but please tell him not to come back to Japan.
Anyway, we were getting nowhere, so I hung up the phone and called Kenny. Fortunately, Kenny answered the phone right away. When I mentioned Leah, Kenny just said one word.
I'll tell you all about it tomorrow when I see you.
The next day, Kenny and Leah came to my house together. Leah looked puffy and refused to make eye contact with me, but as soon as we got to the living room, Kenny asked Leah to apologize. Leah looked into my eyes and apologized, though she was not happy.
Mom, I am very sorry.
Kenny then immediately began to tell me the whole truth.
In the first place, the money was my idea to hand it over from Leah to check up on Mom. I had deposited $100 as a helper fee. Am I right?
That's right.
Leah looked me in the eye and replied,
But you didn't actually give her $100. You only transferred $10 to Mom's account. What did you spend that money on?
I spent it on my idol's live show.
Do live shows cost that much money?
Because I also want to follow them on their national tours. Plus my sister and brother wanted to go with me, so it cost a lot.
Leah did not seem offended at all. She was pouting like a child who had been caught in a prank.
Not only did you spend the money on the concert, but it looks like you spent a lot of money at the hotel where you went on your trip.
At Kenny's words, Leah glared at him.
It doesn't matter. I want to go on vacation, too.
Shut up. Then why didn't you just say so? You used Mom's precious helper's allowance. How are you going to take responsibility if something happened to her?
Leah turned her head down again without replying. Then Leah didn't know you went back to Japan, did she?
Of course. She was surprised to see me home so suddenly.
Kenny had not told Leah that he was going back to Japan. Not only did he suddenly come back to Japan, but he also told her that he would hand-deliver the money to me this time, which made Leah impatient. The reason was that there was no more money in the account to pay the credit card bill. Impatient, Leah tried to steal $100 from his bag when Kenny was not looking. But even that was Kenny's trap, as he had filmed her every move. The video and the photo of my account were the decisive factors in Leah's confession. Tears welled up in Kenny's eyes as he recounted Leah's misdeeds. He had been betrayed by someone he trusted, so it was understandable. I was saddened as well. However, Leah's face remained puffy the whole time. She kept glancing at the clock as if she wanted it to end soon. Kenny saw this and finally snapped.
Leah, what's with your attitude? You did all of this. Don't you feel sorry for Mom?
Leah clicked her tongue loudly.
That's enough. You're annoying me. All you do is talk about Mom and Mom all the time. I'm sick of it.
What do you mean? What's wrong with me thinking about my mother?
What's wrong with you? What? You married me, and all you do is talk about your mother, and you don't even look at me. You're a motherfucker. You're old enough to know better, and you're disgusting.
Kenny's face was red and he looked like he was about to make a move, so I said to them,
Enough. That's enough.
But, Mom.
That's okay, Leah. Sure, Kenny may not have seen you. But what about yourself?
What do you mean?
You are the one who is too absorbed in your old idol, aren't you? You've been looking at your phone all the time. What about that? Leah was flustered by my words.
What do you mean? I don't understand. That's enough. You two should just get along with each other.
With that, Leah left the house as if she was running away. Kenny did not chase after her anymore.
Mom, I'm so sorry.
Don't worry about it. We've had a lot of good things happen. Kenny and I looked at each other and burst out laughing. He and I spent the day together. I hadn't seen her in years. I was now in a wheelchair, but we still had the same happy time as before. That was enough for me. However, This led to Kenny and Leah's divorce. I encouraged them to reconcile once again, but an even bigger problem was uncovered. The amount of money Leah was spending on chasing idols was much higher than my helper fee. So where was she getting the money from? She was getting rid of Kenny's personal belongings. That alone is a big deal, but an even more unbelievable fact came to light. Leah's sister, Meg, had divorced her husband in the past using the same method. Naturally, she had been charged alimony, but she had paid it out of Kenny's account. When I heard this fact, I was so shocked that I could not keep my mouth shut. I realized that I could no longer defend Leah. If they continued to be married, Kenny might lose everything. After the divorce, Kenny went to live with me.
I've had a terrible time at all. Do you really want to go to an idol show by selling other people's personal belongings?
Well, I guess that's what people who like idols do. You can get a divorce without any problem, right?
Of course, of course. I've got all the evidence. I'm demanding alimony and damages, but I don't think she'll be able to pay them.
Since then, Leah and I have been disconnected, so we do not know how she is doing. However, Kenny has heard rumors that she is living with her sister in a shabby apartment. Instead of working together as sisters, they are busy making money, blaming each other for their problems. But that is no longer our concern. Kenny's overseas business trip has ended without incident, and he is now living in Japan again. He is still busy with his work, but he is taking care of me as much as he can. My helper has also taken good care of me as before. That alone was more than enough to make me happy, but there was one more thing that made me happy. Kenny and the helper met for the first time, and as they talked, they found out something. It turned out that the helper's daughter was a junior employee of the company where Kenny worked. The world is a very small place. The story did not end there. It turned out that the helper's daughter was in love with Kenny. She had given up on Kenny because he was married, but now that he is divorced, she is actively approaching him. Now she comes to my house and does housework with Kenny in a friendly manner. Neither I nor my helper objected to the two of them becoming close. My helper is a wonderful person and we get along very well, so I knew the children would be good for each other. I wondered what I would do when I had a stroke and was confined to a wheelchair, but in the end I am happier than ever. Now I just look forward to seeing what the future holds for these two young people. What did you think of this story? Please also subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.